Welcome to Tommy's in 10, where we bring you big ideas in short conversations. I'm your host, Callie Curtis, and in each episode, we'll feature a St. Thomas graduate business school alum who's making an impact in business, leadership, and beyond, all in 10 minutes or less. Today's Tommy is David Berglund, who completed the part-time Flex MBA in 2014. He now serves as Vice President of Data Analytics for Business Insurance at Travelers. We'll learn about his path since St. Thomas and the impact he's making today. So, David, let's dive right in with our first question. What is the most valuable lesson you took from your time at St. Thomas?
I'd love to tell you that it was Professor Abendroth in her marketing class and the 5 Ps that I applied in the eSIM, but there was in fact something else that stuck with me as well. I'd say simply put, there's no denying that being part of the St. Thomas kind of family, it's all about people. And I'd say the power of relationships really does compound. I still look at the professors and classmates that I had at that time as kind of a lifelong advisory board. I remember classes where we had group projects and working with different leaders across disciplines and industries. That was all new to me. Hearing perspectives that I'd never considered, based on experiences, obviously, that I never went through. So now, when you're a leader, you're out in front. That means you're dealing with new challenges, uncertainty, and change every single day. So, of course, much of the knowledge that I learned from business school, I still use. But even more, I think, comes from my classmates and the people around me. So I think the big thing is if you're not tapping into your Tommy network, you're missing out.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. We have such a powerful network here. And especially just looking at that as your personal advisory board, I think that is a very smart way to approach all of those relationships. So, switching gears, I want to talk a little bit about success. So, can you tell me a little bit about how your definition of success has changed over time?
Yeah, so looking back, I'd say I decided to pursue my MBA and was really interested in St. Thomas, especially just given the applied nature of it, because I knew that I didn't have all the answers. Obviously, I still don't. But I wanted to have a better understanding of business fundamentals so I could feel confident, competent, and feel like my education was never a thing that could hold me back. So looking back, my view of success was advancing titles and scope, and I felt like that was the path to get there. Now, some quick wins and a few big wins can come from heroics and all of that, but certainly that can be exciting. But for me, it's the impact that really matters, and it's impact that scales and endures after I leave the room. That's what success is. So more and more, when I think of success, it's about building a system that's sustainable with wins that aren't just one produced repeatedly by a team that shares my vision and values over time.
I think that is a wonderful perspective. When do you feel like that really switched for you in your career? Because I think there's kind of this time between, especially when you're an individual contributor versus when you start leading people, that there's, a very appropriate time to kind of make that shift. But I'm wondering where it was for you.
Yeah, good question. I think you're right. A lot of it does go from individual work and the work that you do. And for me, I would say a lot of it is not just shifting to being a leader of teams and a manager, but being able to see from others, like great leaders that I learned from myself, frankly, to see how they thought about it, that they didn't want to rely on luck, frankly, and heroics, but instead they spent the extra time, that discipline to make sure that it was going to work, even if they weren't there, that it was going to work. So I learned a lot of it just from, great leaders and mentors around me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tommies who are listening, if you do not have a mentor that you trust today, reach out to your Tommy network. There are so many people in this network that want to mentor and want to see other Tommies succeed. So if you don't have that person to learn from today, definitely look out for that.
And to
So,
that point, I'll also add making the idea of mentorship smaller, and not the idea of making it less important, but maybe reducing kind of that threshold before you reach out for a question. because we all face new questions and challenges. So find a Tommy that's faced a situation that you're in now. And not only will you likely be able to build a relationship, but you might solve a problem in a way you wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. You don't need to approach the first conversation with, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" It's very much like, "Hey, let's chat, see how we can learn from each other," and then that relationship can kind of organically emerge. So, um, thanks, David. That's really helpful. So, for our final question, we are looking for a Tommy tip. If you could share one piece of practical advice with our listeners, something that they could use right away, what would that be?
Yeah, it all comes back to people again for me. It's something that I've been trying to put more into practice, but carving out time or dedicating time to build and mature your network. It's simple. Couple like two things that you can do. One is just thank someone every week. Be specific and thank someone where maybe before you wouldn't have acknowledged it, and just sending that extra note, a Teams message, an email, it goes a long way and people appreciate it. And similarly, sharing something with people, giving back. And it can be as simple as, hey, I just heard this podcast and I think it was really interesting and I thought of you. Or, hey, this network member that I have, I think you guys would really get along. They're working on something that you might find interesting. And those are just simple ways for you to remind people that you want to stay connected. And eventually, all the good benefits will come back around you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so simple. Those are both very actionable tips. And something that really wouldn't take more than 5 minutes out of your day. And I think when you start to make those changes, then it becomes that much easier for that to become a habit. So wonderful advice for our Tommies. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Tommy's in 10. David, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us. It's been really great having you on. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow Tommy's in 10 for more quick but impactful chats with fellow St. Thomas alumni.